Hey guys, it's Genevieve. I'm back again with another tutorial. This time it's for a t-shirt dress. I really love these dresses because they are so comfortable. I wear them all the time. So let's get into it. First thing you'll need is a pattern. I have this pattern that I already used for another thing. It is from a shirt that I made, a loose fitting shirt. So I'm going to use that, but you could also use a commercial pattern and just change it around yourself. Something similar to this one would be good. You're going to make alterations to it and I'll show you how to do that. Materials you'll need are stretchy knit fabric. This one's a rayon spandex knit, which I really like because it's really soft and flowy. You can find this at Joann's or any fabric store really. You also need some matching thread. I used white thread because I thought it would be better to show up on camera. And you'll also need some ballpoint or jersey needles. I used a size 11 for this. You could use an 11 or a 12, something just a medium weight needle. The first thing you'll do is trace your front pattern onto pattern paper. This is just to get the base pattern down, and then we'll make our changes off of this. You'll mark your center front. I always like to do this just so I know which one's the front and the back. Next thing you'll do is trace the back pattern piece onto pattern paper as well. Also, I forgot to add that tracing the patterns onto pattern paper isn't really necessary if you're not wanting to keep your original pattern for something else. I just wanted to keep this base pattern. And mark your center back. Alright, after you have your pattern traced, you'll make the armhole bigger. This is just because I'm not making an actual technical t-shirt. It won't have sleeves. It will be a tank top dress. So the way to know how much you need to take off of the armhole is to either make a sample garment or measure your own armhole and compare the measurements. The next thing I'll be doing is adding some length to my pattern. I figured out how much length I needed by measuring one of the dresses I already have that I know is a good length. You could also, like I said, make up a sample garment and figure out your length from there. I made the back of my dress 31 inches and I made the front of my dress 29 inches. So it's a little bit higher in the front than it is in the back. Then I'll take my two pattern pieces and compare the side seams to make sure that they're the same length. Cut your pattern pieces out and you're ready to cut out your fabric. Lay your pattern pieces on the fold and cut them out. I didn't add seam allowance to my pattern pieces before I cut them out, so I'll be adding that when I'm cutting out my fabric. I just added 1/4 of an inch all around except for the armholes and the bottom. This is just to leave a little bit extra to make a hem because we're going to be top stitching around those areas. You'll cut out the back piece as well. And then you will cut out the neck binding piece. This is just that stretchy part around the neck. I already had a pattern piece for this, but the way that you can do it is to just measure the neck opening of your pattern piece all around the front and the back, and then subtract 5/8 of an inch from that measurement and cut out your piece on the fold like I did here to make a big rectangle. I added my seam allowance. I just added 1/4 of an inch seam allowance because I'm going to be serging around all the edges. And after you unfold it, it should look something like this. Now that you have all your pieces cut out, you will start sewing. I used my serger. You can also use a zigzag stitch on your machine, or you can also use a stretch stitch. First spot you will sew is at the shoulder seams. So you'll meet right sides together and just serge the top on both shoulders. And there you have both shoulder seams. The next thing you'll do is stitch the sides all the way down. So you will do the same thing, just meet the right sides together and just stitch all the sides. This is what your dress should look like at this point. You'll have all the side seams stitched and the shoulders. Next thing you'll do is the neck binding. So you'll take that piece and you'll stitch the sides together at the short end with the right sides together. Lots of times knits don't have a right or wrong side, so you can use either side. Pin those together. And stitch that opening closed. Next thing you'll do is fold that binding piece in half so those edges are in the inside, and you'll pin that neck binding piece to your neck. I like to put the seam in the center back, so I mark a pin where that is, match the pin to the seam, and I also do the same thing in the front. I just find where the center of the front is, put a pin there, do the same thing on the neck opening and match those pins together. Then I'll do the same thing with the shoulder seams. So I'll see where the middle of the sides are, match that to the shoulder seam and pin that down, and do the same thing on the other shoulder seam. I only put 4 pins in because you will stretch as you sew. This is what it should look like when it's all pinned, and then you will stitch that down. I like to start at the shoulder seam just because it's a good starting point for me, and you will stretch as you go. I like to go from pin to pin. It's actually really easy. It looks a little bit daunting, but it's a very easy process. And you just turn it to the inside, and that's what it should look like. Alright, we're almost done. The next thing you'll need to do is serge around all the edges of the armholes and also completely around the bottom. This is just to finish all the edges. You don't have to do this because it is a knit, so it won't fray, but this is what it should look like. Alright, the next thing you'll do is fold over the edges of your armholes and your bottom hem 1/2 inch. You don't have to be very exact with this, but I just like to give myself kind of a starting point and then fold over as I stitch. Alright, and then you will top stitch all of that down. It can be a little difficult to see here, but I did 2 rows of stitching around the neck and the armholes and the bottom. And this is what your finished product looks like. It's super comfortable. I have been wearing it non-stop since I made it. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you next time. Bye!